Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Wisteria here. Please hit that like, it costs nothing to do that. Share and connect if you have not already, because that really helps. So we are on the Brothers Grimm tales. We've not finished them yet. There's still a few left to go. This one is actually called ASHENPUTTEL. And you will recognise exactly what the tale is and how it's been changed, I do believe, as we go forward. You may recall another version of this story as well, which is called Mossycoat, which I've already told on my channel. That's the British version, that's from the British folklore. This is the Brothers Grimm version, kind of that, but it's also been changed into something else. So, shall we read? The wife of a rich man fell ill, and when she felt that she was nearing her end, she called her only daughter to her bedside and said, "Dear child, continue devout and good, then God will always help you, and I will look down upon you from heaven, and I will watch over you." Thereupon she closed her eyes and breathed her last. The maiden went to her mother's grave every day and wept, and she continued to be devout and good. When the winter came, the snow spread a white covering on the grave, and when the sun of spring had unveiled it again, the husband took another wife. The new wife brought home with her 2 daughters, who were fair and beautiful to look upon, but they had nothing but a black heart. Then began a sad time for the unfortunate stepchild. "Is this stupid goose to sit with us in the parlour?" they said. "Whoever wants to eat bread must earn it. Go and sit with the kitchen maid." They took away her pretty clothes and made her put on old grey frocks and gave her wooden clogs. "Just look at the proud princess, how well she's dressed," they laughed, as they led her to the kitchen. There, the girl was obliged to do hard work from morning till night, to get up at daybreak, carry water, light the fire, cook and wash. Not content with that, the sisters inflicted on her every vexation they could think of. They made fun of her, and they tossed the peas and lentils among the ashes, so that she would have to obviously dig through to find them. And she would do this, of course, pick them up time and time again. In the evening, when she was worn out with work, she had no bed, not one bed to go to, but she had to lie on the hearth among the cinders, and because, on account of that, she always looked dusty and dirty, they called her ASHENPUTTEL. It happened one day that the father had a mind to go to the fair, so he asked both his stepdaughters what he should bring home for them. "Fine clothes," said one. "Pearls and jewels," said the other. "But you, ASHENPUTTEL," said he, "what will you have?" "Father, break off for me the first twig which brushes against your hat on your way home." Well, for his 2 stepdaughters, he brought beautiful clothes. He brought pearls and jewels, and on his way home, as he was riding through a green field and copse, I don't know what that means, a hazel twig grazed him and knocked his hat off. Then he broke off the branch and took it with him. When he got home, he gave his stepdaughters all they'd asked for, and to ASHENPUTTEL he gave the twig from the hazel bush. ASHENPUTTEL thanked him and went to her mother's grave and planted the twig upon it. She wept so much that her tears fell and watered it, and it took root and became a very fine tree. Ashenputtel went to the grave 3 times a day, wept and prayed, and every time a little white bird came and perched upon the tree, and when she uttered a wish, the little bird threw down to her what she had wished for. Now, it happened that the king proclaimed a festival, which was to last at least 3 days, and to which all the beautiful maidens in the country were invited, in order that his son might choose a bride. When the 2 stepdaughters heard this, they were obviously so excited. They were in high spirits. They called Ashenputtel. And what do you think they said? They said, brush our hair and clean our shoes. Fasten our buckles, for we are going to feast at the king's palace. Ashenputtel obeyed but wept, for she also would gladly have gone to the ball with them, and begged her stepmother to give her leave so that she might go. You, Ashenputtel, she said, why you, covered with dust and dirt, you go to the festival. Besides, you have no clothes or shoes, and yet you want to go to the ball. And she, however, went on asking her stepmother then said, well, I have thrown a dishful of lentils into the cinders. If you have picked them all out in 2 hours, you shall go with us. The girl went through the back door into the garden and cried. She cried and cried, ye gentle doves, and all ye little birds under heaven, come and help me. Now, it just so happened that the chant in which she chanted could have had a surprising effect. 2 white doves came by the kitchen window and were followed by the turtle doves, and finally all the little birds under heaven flocked in chirping and settled down among the ashes, and the doves gave a nod with their little beaks, peck, 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 and then the rest began also, peck, 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 and collected all the good beans, put them into the dish. Now, surely, maybe even an hour had passed before they had finished, and all flew out yet again. Then the girl brought the dish to her stepmother, and was delighted to think that now she'd be able to go to the ball with them. But she said, no, Ashenputtel, you have no clothes and cannot dance. You will only be laughed at. But when she began to cry, the stepmother said, if you can pick out 2 whole dishes of lentils from the ashes in an hour, you shall go with us. And she thought, she will never be able to do that. And when her stepmother had thrown the dishes of lentils into the ashes, the girl went out through the back door and cried, ye gentle doves, ye turtle doves, and all ye little birds under heaven, come and help me. The good into a dish to throw, the bad into your crops can grow. The 2 white doves came in by the kitchen window. They were followed by the turtle doves and all the other birds under heaven, and in less than an hour the whole lot had been picked up, and then the birds had flown away. Then the girl carried the dish to her stepmother, and was delighted to think that she would now be able to go to the ball. But she said, it's not a bit of good. You can't go with us, for you have got no clothes, and you can't dance. We should be quite ashamed of you. Thereupon she turned her back upon her, and hurried off with her 2 proud daughters. As soon as everyone had left the house, Ashenputtel went out to her mother's grave, under the hazelnut tree, and cried, shiver and shake, dear little tree, gold and silver shower on me. Then the bird flew down to her, a gold and silver robe with a pair of slippers embroidered with silk and silver. With all speed she put on the robe and went to the feast. But her stepsisters and their mother did not recognize her, and supposed that she was some foreign princess, So beautiful did she appear in her golden dress. They never gave a thought to Ashenputtel, but imagined that she was sitting at home in the dirt, picking the lentils out of cinders. The prince came up to the stranger and took her by the hand and danced with her. In fact, he would not dance with anyone else, and never let go of her hand. If anyone came up to ask her to dance, he said, "This is my partner." She danced until nightfall, and then wanted to go home, but the prince said, "I will go with you, and I shall escort you." For he wanted to see whom the beautiful maiden belonged. But she slipped out of his way, and she sprang straight from the pigeon house. Then the prince waited till her father came, and told him that the unknown maiden had vanished. She'd vanished into the pigeon house. He was sure of it. The old man thought, could it be Ashenputtel? And he had an axe brought to him, so that he might break down the pigeon house. But there was no one inside. When they went home, there lay Ashenputtel in her dirty clothes among the cinders, and a dismal oil lamp was burning. It was burning in the chimney corner, for Ashenputtel had quietly jumped down out of the pigeon house and ran back to where she belonged. So therefore she would not be caught. Quietly she went to the hazel tree. There her beautiful clothes were taken off, and they were laid on the grave. Then the bird took them away again. Then she had settled herself among the ashes and the earth in her old grey frock. On the second day, when the festival was renewed, and the parents and stepsisters had started forth again, Ashenputtel repeated the same thing, and was able to attend the ball. The king's son waited for her to come, waited, and they danced. She and him danced, and he would not let no one dance but him with her. He would say, "This is my partner." At nightfall, again, she wished to leave. The prince went after her, hoping to see into what house she went, but she sprang out into the garden behind the house. There stood a fine big tree on which the most delicious pears hung. She climbed up the branches as nimbly as a squirrel, and the prince could not make out what had become of her. But he waited till her father came, and said to him, "The unknown maiden has slipped away from me, and I think that she jumped into the pear tree." The father thought, "Can it be Ashenputtel?" And he had the axe brought to cut down the tree. But there was no one on it. When they got home and looked in the kitchen, there lay Ashenputtel among the cinders as usual, for she had jumped down the other side of the tree, taken back her beautiful clothes to the bird on the hazel tree, and put her old grey frock on. On the third day, when her parents and sisters had started out, Ashenputtel again went to her mother's grave and simply said, "Shiver and shake, dear little tree, gold and silver shower on me." Again the dress was given to her, and the slippers. She was ready with her attire. And when she arrived, again people were speechless. They were astonished. The prince only danced with her, and if anyone else asked, he would say, "This is my partner." When night fell, she wanted to leave. The prince was more desirous than ever to accompany her, but she darted away from him so quickly that he could not keep up with her. But the prince had used a strategy, and had caused the steps to be covered in cobbler's wax. The consequence was, the maiden lost one of her special beautiful shoes. Of course, these shoes were different too. The prince saw that this slipper had been left, and he took it up. It was small and dainty, and entirely made of gold. The next morning he went to Ashenputtel's father, and said to him, "No other shall become my wife but she whose foot fits this golden slipper." The two sisters were delighted at the fact that they'd been looked at, for they both had beautiful feet. The eldest went into the room. intending to try on the slipper, and her mother stood beside her. But the great toe prevented her getting it on. Her foot was way too long. Then the mother handed her a knife and said to her, "Cut off your toe. When you are queen, you won't have to walk around anyway." The girl cut off her toe and forced her foot into the slipper, and she stifled the pain and went out to the prince. Then he took her up on his horse and rode away as if she was the bride. But when they passed the hazel tree with the two doves, "Prithee, look back, prithee, look back, there's blood on the track, the shoe is too small, at home the true bride is waiting thy call." Then he did look at the foot, and he saw it was streaming with blood. He turned his horse around and went straight back with the false bride to her home. The second sister must try the shoe. She went into the room and succeeded in getting the toes in, but her heel was too big, so her mother handed her a knife and said, "Cut a bit of your heel off. When you're queen, you won't have to walk around any more." The maiden did as she was told, and forced her foot, stifled the pain, and went out with the prince. He took her up on the horse as his bride, and he rode off. Again, as they passed the grave with the doves and the hazel tree, they cried, "Prithee, look back, prithee, look back, there's blood on the track, the shoe is too small, at home the true bride is waiting thy call." He looked down at the foot, and he saw it was streaming with blood, and there were deep red spots on her stockings. He turned the horse around and went straight back to the house. "This is not the right one either," he said. "Have you no other daughters?" "No," said the man. "There's only a daughter of my late wife's, a puny stunted drudge. She can't not possibly be the bride." The prince said that she must be sent for. But the mother answered, "Oh no, she's much too dirty. She mustn't be seen on account, not on any account." He was, however, absolutely determined to have his way. And when she had washed her hands and face, she went up and curtsied to the prince, who handed her the golden slipper. Then she sat down on a bench, pulled off the wooden clog, and put on the slipper, which fitted perfectly. When she stood up, the prince looked into her face. He recognised the beautiful maiden that he had danced with, and cried, "This is the true bride." The stepmother and two stepsisters were dismayed and turned white with rage, but he took Ashenputtel on his horse and rode off with her. As they rode past the hazel tree and grave with the white doves, "Prithee, look back, prithee, look back, no blood's on the track, the shoe's not too small, you carry the true bride home to your hall." And when they had said this, they both came flying down and settled on Ashenputtel's shoulders, one on the right, one on the left, and remained perched there. When the wedding was going to take place, the two false sisters came and wanted to curry favour with her. Well, of course they did. And they wanted to take part in her good fortune. As the bridal party was going to the church, the eldest was on the right side, the youngest on the left, and the doves picked out one of the eyes of each of them. Then, when they were coming out of the church, the elder was on the left, the younger on the right, and the doves picked out the other eye of each of them, and so for their wickedness and falseness they were punished with blindness for the rest of their days, and not able to walk properly. The end. That's the story of Ashenputtel, but that is also the original story of Cinderella. That's the true Cinderella, as well as the Mossycoat they called it, but that's the British version. This is Brothers Grimm, and it was before the Cinderella we know now. It's a true version. Thank you for listening, and many blessings.